Howdy, y'all.
I'm Leslie.
I'm Laurie. Welcome to
Sumo Kaboom.
Sumo Kaboom.
We talk about all things sumo.
Yep, we're on video again.
Our
so you can watch us
faces.
on YouTube if you want. But
Yes.
first, I want to remind you guys that we are playing bingo. The kachikoshis and the makikoshis are starting to roll in
Are they?
on this
Are they,
bingo.
are they
Not the
this
bingos
week?
yet.
Oh, not bingos.
But just the kachikoshis. Yes. So we're still playing bingo. There's about 500 people playing. And if you get a bingo this week, send it in right away. We did have a question about our bingo game. And then as soon as we get questions of poetry out of the way, we will get right to the sumo days 4 through 10. We're going to break down what we loved. But first, I just wanted to say, Devin wrote in and said, hey, is there a social aspect to bingo? Is there any way to communicate with other players or other sumo fans in general? And that made me think, is there
like a sumo bingo forum?
Yeah.
Like a Discord channel, which I don't even, anytime anyone suggests Discord, I'm like, I
know, my
don't
brain
know
short circuits.
How to be on that. I'm
But
old.
We used to be more active on Twitter, and that was a place where people were pretty social with their bingo cards, but I am not on Twitter as much anymore, if at all.
I bet if you build it, they will come.
Do you want to build it?
No, but I bet somebody out there will.
How about this? If y'all have ideas for us about how we can make bingo more social, we'd be interested. Yeah. So tell us what you'd like. I don't know. Would it be fun to share your bingo cards with each other and be like, hey, look what I've got going? Sometimes people email that to us and we, of course, answer. But I don't know how to orchestrate people doing that with each other except a tag. Like we could make up a tag.
Like a hashtag?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what all the people do with the hashtags.
We could.
The sumo bingo hashtag.
Sumo bingo hashtag, Sumo Kaboom bingo. What do you think?
I don't know. I think we're gonna have to crowdsource this this answer because I have no idea. I barely know how the internet works. So.
Okay, well, just hit us up with your ideas and we'll let you know.
That's right.
Okay, how about we had a few things from listeners we want to share with you. Do you want to share yours first?
Yes, I want to share a really sweet message we got for our 5th anniversary because if you missed us last week, we have done 250 episodes. And anyway, someone wrote in celebration of our 250 episodes and our 5th anniversary. This is from Enrique. Dear Laurie and Leslie, happy 5th anniversary. Just before things get busy, I wanted to thank you both for consistently releasing amazing content for sumo fans here in the US. Aw, that's so sweet. I'm not sure if you remember, but a few months ago, I reached out to you after hearing your episode from when you visited Japan. I had asked if I can request Angie's contact details, who's a friend of ours that we met. It's a friend of Konishki's, and she's amazing, and a tour guide, and she's awesome. And long story short, she and I got connected after writing a few messages back and forth. She is a truly incredible friend more than anything, and I am very happy, excited, and everything in between because we have planned to meet in Japan a week from now. And what's even more exciting is that, really, really exciting, because as a new sumo fan, I still cannot believe this is happening. She got me and my spouse tickets for day 14 of Haru Basho. And Tamari seats at that, row 4 from the doyo. I hope you can hear my disbelief as I write this. Not only that, we will get to attend the Senshiraku party for Takasago Beya, hopefully to meet Asanoyama and Asakoryu, as I'm a huge fan of these two. Also, did I mention she's bringing us along to watch Minato Beya's Asageko morning practice, and they're speechless. So I'm just overwhelmed by her generosity and kindness, along with many of her friends and acquaintances she got in touch with to make this happen. But I wanted to write you this letter again to thank you both so much for making this happen. I'm so grateful to you. And I believe I speak on behalf of other Sumo Kaboom listeners when I say we appreciate you for everything you do. Happy anniversary, and hopeful to hear more of your mini episodes. Yay! I'll report back with pictures and stories after coming back. Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you, Enrique. Like, that's amazing that you're going to be seated like way down there. Like, that's a crazy thing.
And you best send us pictures.
Yeah. We want close-ups.
Yeah.
So if you are interested in the tours that Angie gives, we get nothing, absolutely nothing from it. We're just a fan of her, and we're happy to connect you up if you happen to be traveling over there in the future and want to see some sumo or have a sumo guide. She is the coolest lady ever.
Yes. And I have a poem to share. This one is from Sarah, and she wanted to send this silly poem. It is called The Lament of Oho's Occipital Bone, a poem. And if you've been watching sumo for a while, you know this poor, very large kid always ends up with cuts right above his eye. Always, always. Here we go. In the land of sumo, where giants roam, lives a tired bone, far from memory foam. I am Oho's occipital, sturdy, yet neat. However, recently, I've experienced quite a defeat. I long for rest, a moment of peace. Yet Oho insists the fights won't cease. He steps into the ring with a mighty roar, while I dream of pillows and naps galore. Dear Oho, I cry with all my might, give me a day off, just one night. But my pleas go unheard to his ears as the crowd applauds and cheers. His top knot sways with each bout he wins, while I endure the relentless spins. I yearn for stillness and no shouts, instead of these endless bone-rattling bouts. If only Oho would grant me reprieve, I'd heal my cracks and take my leave. But until that day, a bone must be brave, enduring each match, wave after wave, to be an occipital unbruised, in a world where sumo's never used. Until then, I'll brace and bear the load, for in Oho's head I have my abode. Isn't that fabulous?
So creative.
Oh,
Like,
Sarah,
that took so much
so good.
effort and it rhymes. I'm in awe.
It
All
is
of your
so good.
poetry skills just astounds me.
Yes.
I'm amazed constantly. The talent of our listeners is beyond.
I love it. And we'll talk more about this next week when we do a lot of thank yous. But I just want to share this. I don't know if this is from the same Sarah or a different Sarah, but this Sarah just sent us a sankyu. She wrote sankyu. This is a silly way of sometimes saying thank you in Japan. So hooray for all your efforts and dedication in making the podcast and keeping the sumo community learning, laughing, and creating. And several of you sent really very generous donations for our anniversary. And I just want to say thank you. And we will be calling you out more by name next week.
That's so sweet. Yes. Thank you for all your support. We do this for fun, and it helps cover costs like bingo or bingo game and mailing things to our winners. So thank you for anyone who donates. We always love and appreciate it. Shall we jump to a news flash?
I didn't realize we had a news flash.
Yes, we have a news flash
because
there's not much, because it's always related to the basho and I can't really give away too much.
Yeah.
But on one of these days, Ted Fuji was in the commentating booth.
Yes.
So he was up there, and he often will kind of say he's not really confident with his speaking skills. And it is true, kind of when you see him, he's a little bit I wouldn't say he's a showy speaker. He's not necessarily as eloquent as some of the other guys are.
Ichi Yamamoto, you mean?
Right. Ichi Yamamoto is like
he's the best.
He's going to be like
speaker
the
ever.
future of the PR game at the JSA.
God, he best be. He'd be so good at it.
Yeah, but what's interesting sometimes when you have someone like Ted Fuji in the commentary booth, they kind of impart wisdom that, he was in the last basho, so he can tell you how certain guys like feel like when he wrestles them. But he said something interesting, and I thought, oh, this is really kind of fun. He said, this is a quote from Nikon Sports, but he said about himself, he revealed one of his secret techniques. And he said, when you are at the edge of the ring, I let my opponent thrust in on purpose. And then I pull in my stomach and thrust in. I don't exactly know what that means. When my opponent thrusts in, he feels relieved and then he stops. And from there, I shrink my body. So maybe he dips down and then and then his response was like, you just can't thrust with your feet. So he revealed that this was kind of his secret technique. And I kind of tried to think about it. What he does at the ring's edge, he like lures his victims in. They think he sucks in his stomach.
Like a deep sea creature.
Exactly. And then they feel that, and then they stop pushing because
they think he's out or he's giving up.
They feel like a different tenseness. So they go, oh, he's over the edge, so his body's given up. But he's not. So he's not out yet.
Oh, the fake out. Out.
Then he sinks down, I think, and either pivots or then thrusts back on the other guy, because the other guy can't thrust with his feet then at that point. He's kind of given up and shrunk back. I was trying to kind of figure out, maybe I need somebody who speaks Japanese to exactly translate that for me, but I thought that's kind of cool. Ted Fuji's given out his secret techniques.
His fake out techniques. Fake out at the edge.
Yeah. Yeah, right?
Oh, I wouldn't think that would be the technique that a yokozuna would be talking about.
I think you use it all. And I kept thinking about like the visuals of when he's at the edge. And I do like have a visual of him kind of going not completely concave in his stomach, but like sucking in or pulling in and up, you know? So I'm going to need to like watch a whole
When
like
I do it, I just give myself 4 chins.
I would too.
Sorry if you're listening to that. That's the one you got to see.
Yeah. So that was fun. Also, an interesting thing happened. There've been all the tournaments have been sold out like in record pace this last year. And the JSA or whoever it is have found out who the resellers are. And I don't exactly know who that is, but I think they put a kibosh on that. So I don't know if that will help open up tickets or if some of us from overseas were using some of these resellers. I'm not sure. So that'll be interesting to kind of see what comes in the next few months or the next year with selling tickets, because the aim is to make sure that the tickets are available to everyone. And one of the complicating factors has been these resale companies. And when we were there, we saw lots of seats that were open and it was sold out. And we're like, why are all these seats open? We're like, okay, maybe it's tours, but hopefully this will loosen up some of these tickets and make them more available for the average person, which I'm all for. So that is that. Before we get into the sumo, I'm not sure if any of you are watching, but Asanoyama is making his way back through whatever rank that is, doing pretty good. And he's looking, I think, kind of undefeated maybe at this point. I think he's looking really good. Another guy in Juryo, Kusano, who originally was supposed to be in Miyagi Bea, but when all of the turmoil happened with all of that scandal and they merged with Isagahama, he's officially at Isagahama, but he's like sitting there undefeated in Juryo, which is kind of interesting. There is a show that I watched, which is Miyagano and Isagahama. It's like a sports day. And Terunofuji and Hakuho are picking teams from the stable, and they are both fighting over Kusano. And so I was like, who is this kid? And now I know who he is. He's like the up and coming crushing it through Juryo kid. So that's kind of cool and interesting. And also Enho is doing well, making his way back through the lower ranks. So I'm always keeping tabs on some of my old faves. So that is that on the report of the injured wrestlers and up and coming wrestlers that we'll hopefully see in Makuuchi soon. You ready for some real sumo?
Yeah, that TV show that you were talking about where
Yeah.
they were picking teams, that was the one where they were like doing silly things like running the ball down the gym. And they were like doing very un-sumo related type games.
Yeah.
That actually looked like a really fun, like, be a warrior for a day.
Yeah, it looks like a field day from elementary school.
Yeah,
it's
all really funny.
But I enjoyed it because they're running around in shorts and doing all
and they're
this.
carrying like boxes, you know, like empty boxes.
Yeah.
And they're doing it like
them.
relay races, like who can carry 12 empty boxes and can you carry twice that many? It was completely ridiculous.
But fun.
And I like ridiculous sumo content.
I do too.
It will always get my eyeballs.
Yeah, and you can follow that channel. Isagahama, all of the stables, they all have YouTube channels now.
Yeah, and the Isagahama stable channel is fabulous. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah,
for just that reason. And Takeda Fuji.
Yeah, Futagoyama stable, I believe, is one of the first ones. That's called Sumo Food or something like that.
Yeah, they're really into food.
Yeah, that's how it started. But really, it is like a day in the life of a sumo wrestler. And then once the popularity of Futagoyama's got known and the popularity of that exploded, then all the other stables decided to have their own. So there's a lot out there. So you can kind of see the day-to-day highlights of what happens behind the scenes in sumo stable.
Yeah, and these random things that they put together for their sumo channel.
Yeah.
Which I love.
I do too.
Absolutely love. Okay, let's go to day 4. We can never talk to you about all the amazing sumo that happens on these days. We can just sort of pick and choose and talk about storylines. But I do want to mention Shirokuma got his first win on day 4.
Praise be.
Happy about that.
I love Shirokuma, but he's been having a rough ride.
Yeah. But he won on day 4 with a simple Yori Kiri and, pushed Kageyaki. After he got pushed to the edge by Kageyaki, he won. And so I was like, phew, he's got his first win. Yay! Aonishiki on day 4 did a really nice job pushing Mitakeumi's chest up and back. He did not let Mitakeumi go low at all. And Mitakeumi is a much larger man. Much, much larger man. Exozeki. So I thought this was a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
That this kid showed up and took Mitakeumi down. So took Aonishiki's record to 2-2. the villain hips and this little thing that
He's making
Shishi is
dough.
doing
Pizza fingers.
is so good. And my favorite thing about, two things I love about it. One, it's working for him. On day 4, he beat Midori Fuji. He did not allow Midori Fuji to do that kata sukashi that he loves to do. He pushed Midori Fuji to the side. But the other thing I love about this is listening to the audience react to it.
They giggle.
Oh
they
my,
don't know what to do with
they
it. They're
don't.
like, this is so wild.
You can hear the murmurs in the background, particularly if you watch the long version of Sumo. You can hear all this like discussion. What is he doing? It's really wonderful. And actually, what somebody wrote in, who was that? The Rexus Fern wrote in on YouTube and said, shy, homesick Shishi is out there with a pre-bout dance. It's very brave, it's very fun, and I hope they let him do what gives him this confidence. Isn't that great?
Do whatever you need. Ryuden used to do that, and then they chattered about that. People didn't like it, but he stopped doing it. But I hope he never stops. Whatever makes you happy.
Yeah, continue doing it, Shishi, because it's working. Shodai had a beautiful, gorgeous move at the end of his match against Atami Fuji. He spun with one hand on the belt to spin Atami Fuji right out of the ring. It looked effortless. And, you know, I always appreciate, people give Shodai a hard time because they're like, sometimes he doesn't show up to do sumo. But I think what it is he has a strong judo background. And in judo, everything tends to look effortless, right? You're trying to stay really loose and either escape with or turn it into I don't want to say aggression. That's like a whole different sport. But you're trying to like take things and transmute them into an opposing force. And he just does that so well sometimes. And he can do it from up high or down low. And he just pulled a beauty of a move on day 4. There was on one of the later days, gosh, I don't know if it was day 7, day 8, I don't know. But on Abema TV, they had this Olympic judo champion who was there sort of talking through the sumo and how it compared to judo. And it reminded me so much of Shodai. So he was like staying high to produce these amazingly strong throws that were just like throwing the other commentators down. And they were always surprised when they got thrown down, like, whoa, I didn't expect it to be quite like that. But it just reminded me so much of watching Shodai, how much of his technique comes from that judo background of his. It was just gorgeous. I want to mention Takayasu versus Tobizaru. Okay, when reports are circulating about you possibly being a bully to other people in the sumo world, it doesn't help you when you resort to the kekikaeshi, which is essentially like kicking your opponent's shins. It just makes you look more like a bully. And I didn't like it. Tobizaru did this move against Takayasu. He pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed until Takayasu got tired. And then he just took one swift bully type kick to the shins to take Takayasu down. And I didn't like it.
I know it's a winning technique, but there's just some winning techniques that you're like, I'm not a fan of that.
No. And that is one of them. I even wrote on my notes here, it just says, boo.
Boo. Boo. Well, I think Tobizaru's having a tough time, so, you know, I'm okay with a little boo.
Yeah. Okay. I enjoyed on day 4 Onosato versus Wakamoto Haru. It was a really nice fight between these two. Wakamoto Haru went right in with one hand on Onosato's neck, and he pushed Onosato's neck straight up. A big O, recovered nicely, and moved Wakamoto Haru back. And then Wakamoto Haru got a left hand in on the belt, got to the side, to Onosato's side, and Onosato was just up high and sort of sideways, got pushed out. But I like it. It's really fun. I just can't stress enough how much fun it is to cheer against Onosato because he's so darn good. He just like has all the sumo gifts. He's so big and he's so good. And I just love it, especially when a Wakamoto Haru or a Wakataka Kage can take that guy down. I love it.
I feel you. I guess people are on two different sides. I really, really like Onosato.
Oh, I do too.
I always am like, oh, he's one step in being more and more dominant. So I like that. I do, the other guys he's wrestling up there, I also are huge fans of. So
I
it's
know.
always like a split emotion of like, oh, he got him, but also like, oh,
You know what it
he
is?
looks like an Ozeki, as he should.
Yeah. I like that there are chinks in his armor. That's
Mhm.
what I like.
Mhm.
Because Onosato looks so solid the majority of the time. And he's gotten where he is so quickly that I love when people can find chinks in that armor. And you have to appreciate that.
Yeah.
You just have to. Koto Zakura smothered Wakataka Kage on day 4 like a ham sandwich, which was not very exciting to watch because that meant Wakataka Kage was still winless after day 4, which is not very Wakataka Kage of him, but I'm sure it was a relief to Koto Zakura. And on day 4, Hoshoryu very quickly won against Gonoyama as he stepped to the side and slapped Gonoyama down. That was day 4.
Day 5. Okay. Day 5. I want to mention first the Ryuden versus Aonishiki or Ionishiki. We're pronouncing it's like Aonishiki. I keep saying Aonishiki.
Do I have to do it like that?
Aonishiki. Well, to like remind myself, it's not Aonishiki. Aonishiki. Anyway, he there was this two-handed twist down called the Kaina Hineri, and I was like, wowzers, that was really, really unusual and fun to see up against him and Ryuden. Takeru Fuji versus Ura. This was really nice sportsmanship, I'd like to say. There was a huge tachiai with both guys bringing the fire, but Takeru Fuji got inside and with laser focus, with huge shove, he moved Ura back and into the first row. It was a nice, robust strength and that thrust from Takeru Fuji, and I like to see it. It was he's looking good. He's looking tan and he's looking good.
He is looking good.
Oho versus Abi.
I assume you're talking about Takeru Fuji when you say he's looking good.
Yeah.
He is.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I do love Ura, and Ura is the Osaka kid, so he's got a lot of like audience love. It's been they call it the stormy basho for a reason. It's stormy. It's ups and downs.
Yep.
Oho versus Abi. Oho continues to beat Abi. The size is his advantage. So he thrusts up top from like both guys have thrust up top. Abi drives. Oho gets rushed back, but he steps to the side and Abi thrusts the air. But quickly, he like stumbles forward. He's like, oh, no one's home. He quickly refocuses his energy and then rushes right back onto Oho, who looks like he's kind of in trouble at this point. He continues to step backwards around to the edge. Oho then quickly steps towards the center of the doyo, positioning himself on the inside, and Abi is now too close to the edge. Oho finishes Abi off with a huge shove to Abi's chest and wins with a frontal push out. Oshidashi, moving fast, very nice match. Nice job, Oho. Takanosho versus Koto Zakura. Takanosho versus Koto Zakura. I mentioned this match because, day 4 or 5, we're like, yeah, let's see what kind of tournament Koto Zakura is going to have. It's starting to become clear what kind of tournament Koto Zakura is going to have. He just isn't fighting with his whole body. And Koto Zakura, though, withstood a huge nodowa from Takanosho up top. He jumps back and gets a thrust on the back of Takanosho as Koto Zakura steps to the side and around the ring a bit. Takanosho stumbled but didn't actually go down. It was really, really nice balance from Takanosho. He's up and down all the time, but Takanosho does have some real staying power and some really good balance in his body. At this point, though, Koto Zakura in the past, I feel like would have finished him off, but he didn't. He just let Takanosho square back up with him. And then Takanosho charged back at him. And so Koto Zakura tried to deflect Takanosho with a pushing up on Takanosho's armpit, but his strength was just lacking. And Takanosho just charged away and he drove Koto Zakura back and out. And this is what I meant up top. I just don't think he's fighting with his whole body. The injury is either worse than we think or I don't know, but there were a number of moments in that where the old Koto Zakura would have finished it and he didn't this time around. So there's something going on. All right. Hoshoryu versus Chiyoshima, last spot of the day. The Henka King, who just insulted the new king with his old tricks. So it was a Kimboshi win for Chiyoshima. And I don't know if you remember this, but I do know that this bout was like the beginning, I think, of a rivalry that we're going to see between two Mongolians that we'll just like never forget. But essentially what this match was, it was a tachiai and no one was home because Chiyoshima stepped to the side as the Henka King does. Hoshoryu rebalanced miraculously, but not enough. And Chiyoshima grabbed deep inside and had Hoshoryu at the ropes. He had Hoshoryu at the ropes and clinging on. He was up too high at this point, and Chiyoshima just made sure he was nudged over the bales by swallowing him up, and Hoshoryu was not in a position where he could really fight back easily. And so, yeah, he tried to bring some fight, but he was not expecting that Henka. And this was a Yorikiri, a frontal force out win for Chiyoshima. But really, it was a Henka on a Yokozuna. And I think the Yokozuna was like, did not see that on my bingo card today. And he should have.
Exactly. That's why I didn't mind this Henka.
Yeah.
It
was like the ultimate insult. Like Mongolian to Mongolian. He's like, all right, first I'm going to fight you as a Yokozuna. I'm going to throw a Henka at you. And it was beautiful. Hoshoryu was not expecting that. He fell for it.
Yeah.
He fell for it.
This one did not bother me at all. I actually thought, you know what? Chiyoshima deserves a Kimboshi for that one.
He was all smiles afterwards, all smiles. And Chiyoshima.
Oh, of course he would be. I was going to say Hoshoryu was?
No,
I can't imagine Hoshoryu like that. But he didn't have to hurt his elbow. I mean, right?
Right.
His elbow got a day off. Wasn't the best thing ever, but I kind of felt like he should have thought that might be coming.
Yeah. Yep. And if he can't see that, then he's got to fight like a Yokozuna. He's got to know what to expect from every guy.
Yep. Exactly. He's got to study tapes.
Well, I don't even think you have to study tape. Like
everybody knows that one.
Everybody knows Chiyoshima has been the former Henka King.
Yes.
It is always going to be in his tool belt.
Yep.
So you got to know that.
You got to be ready for it. Okay, day 6. So much to love about day 6, but I just want to highlight a few things here and there. We got to see 2 Ukrainians do sumo at the top level on day 6, and that was just so cool. Yeah. The representation was just so great. To see 2 top level, really fantabulous sumo wrestlers going at it, and I just loved it simply for the way it looked. Oh, Nishiki stayed really low and just moved so much faster. He got the belt, he shuffled, got behind Shishi with one leg, pulled Shishi down with an Oshi, Ta Oshi. It was just really pretty, and I thought they're both just such wonderful symbols for Ukraine. It's wonderful to see them up there fighting each other. On day 6, might have done the worm as he was slapped down by Shodai. And that just shows that Ura has a mad ability to put a dance move into every single sumo match. Either it's a front roll,
a flip, or the worm.
Or the worm. And
he's
I appreciate
most likely
that.
to have a second career as a break dancer.
Yeah, he could do that. Day 6 was the day that Takeru Fuji showed up with a shiner of all shiners.
Yeah.
Which means that it came from his fight on day 5. Do you remember who that was against?
Day 5.
Was it Tamawashi? Was it?
No, Tamawashi on day 5 was Kinbo. Ura.
He got a shiner from Ura? Or was it from the day before?
They had a huge tachiai with both guys bringing fire is what I wrote. So it must have been Ura. It could have been the day before. It could have been the day before and the bruising just showed up.
That's true.
From day 3 or 4.
It is still there on day 10.
Yeah.
It's
like yellow, it's purple, it's all the colors of the rainbow.
All the colors. Yeah. But on day 6 it just showed up as like black and blue eyeshadow.
Yeah, it looks like a mask.
It is incredible. So props to the shiner. I don't know how you're still doing sumo with that kind of shiner, but you did great sumo against Ichiyamamoto.
Yeah.
Push Ichiyamamoto quickly out. So shiner on, Takeru Fuji. Shiner on. I am going to skip to Wakataka Kage versus Oho on day 6 because I like this fight. Oho, the new Seke Wake. Wakatake took him out by getting a hold of his belt on one side and then gluing himself to Oho's nipples until Oho just went out backwards. Like, he had nowhere else to go because Wakataka Kage was so in his face. I just love it. I love it. It's almost as if Wakataka Kage is saying, that's my spot. Yeah. You don't get this Sekewake spot. That one belongs to me.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was pretty. Day 6, I did start to notice Onosato has a bunch of cupping marks on his back. So I was like, okay, he's not invincible. See, another chink in the armor. Okay, but he did win on day 6. I'm just going to say Onosato won. He's still looking strong. Great. Okay, let's talk about Chiyoshima versus Koto Zakura. His foe was so wiggly. He was so floppy. He was all over the place. Chiyoshima decided, I'm not hanka-ing today. I'm gonna go like fish on a line. And I'm gonna be here. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be up. I'm gonna be down. I'm right. I'm left. I'm everywhere. You can't find me. But Koto Zakura hunted him down, wrapped him up, and took him out with an ochidashi. So what that meant was Koto Zakura went to 3-3, and Chiyoshima had nothing to brag about. On day 6.
And I was like, okay, Koto Zakura, he's okay. He's okay. Yeah. He'll get it.
Yeah. So 3-3. All he's got to get is 8 wins.
Right.
He can do it.
5
he's
more.
Right in the middle. Yeah. Right in the middle. Okay. Hoshoryu, still in the game on day 6. Had a tough day the day before, but showed up, won easily, out-muscling Tobizaru once he got the belt. So well done, Hoshoryu. Those are some of my highlights from day 6. Lots of other matches that I love, but that will take us to day 7.
Day 7. Okay. Well, if we have a Henka King, we have a Katsukashi King, and he was reigning big. Midori Fuji up against Ryuden for the 6th time. Now, mind you, Midori Fuji has beaten Ryuden 5 times, and every single time was with a Katsukashi. So you would think that Ryuden was like, not this time. But you know what? He lost this time by Katsukashi. Basically, Ryuden tries to smack and thrust to keep Midori Fuji distant, but it again does not work. And of course, Midori Fuji gets on the inside and just snuggles himself in close, and then wham, 2 seconds, and then he easily pulls Ryuden down.
Yep. It must be so hard when you're that tall.
And it must be so frustrating. The same damn Kimarite every time. He's
it's
so
like
good at it.
It's like the Henka from Chiyoshima.
I know. It's really good. Okay, Hakuoho versus Onokatsu.
Oh, I'm so glad you're going to mention Hakuoho.
Yeah, they haven't met much, but last time Onokatsu won. The last time. So, wow, this time Hakuoho was getting the steamroll technique down, and he had a very, very strong tachiai. He wrapped up Onokatsu and drove like hell. He just slammed him down. He got the Morizashi grip and just laid him into the dirt. It was a huge blast.
It is
at the very end, Onokatsu tried like a last minute effort with a kubinage, but he was toast at that point. It didn't work. And Hakuoho was looking like fire.
It is very odd that I'm a middle-aged lady, and I love watching this kid just clock his opponents.
Oh yeah, no, I'm the same. He's such a piece.
I don't know why
he's such a piece of meat.
Yes,
he is firm. He is wide. He is a tank. When the tank is rolling, that's why I went through a phase of really, really loving World War II documentaries. And I think that's why I just like a tank. I just like to watch a tank bulldoze over. No, I mean, I think a lot of people went through when the History Channel first came to be. A lot of people watched a lot of World War II documentaries until they were like, wait a second, why am I watching so many World War II documentaries? But it was like footage. It's just like strength in a tank. And he, in this match, was the epitome of a steamrolling tank to me. It was amazing.
It's like when 2 guys sign up and they agree, okay, at the outset, we're just going to run at each other as hard as we can. And whoever's the strongest wins.
Yeah. And Onokatsu is exciting for me too. I don't sleep on him. I think he'll
sleep on him.
Don't sleep on him. Takayasu versus Wakataka Kage. Now I won't really mention anything about Takayasu, as I have not mentioned over the last 5 years anything about Takayasu.
Because
the second I do, I ruin his chances. So let me just talk to you about Takayasu versus Wakataka Kage. Both these guys have epic strength up top. They wanted this to be. They both had fire in this match. But Takayasu is just stronger in this match. He has a huge tachiai. Wakataka Kage snuggles his head into the chest of Takayasu. That's his approach, and he tries to get a grip. But Takayasu is a veteran, and he holds him off really well. They stall out, with Takayasu patiently waiting for the right moment to move, because Wakataka Kage is inching little by little closer and closer to getting that shallow grip on Takayasu's belt, and Takayasu feels every little bit of those sneaky little fingers. So Takayasu quickly breaks Wakataka Kage's Takakage's attempt to latch on. He steps back, grabs onto Wakatakakage's chest, pivots back a step, and then just gets behind Wakatakakage, gets him all turned around and vulnerable, and thrusts him out. Huge Oshidashi win for Takayasu, who is 6-1 on day 7.
And I think this is the first day where I started to go,
don't talk about it. Don't talk about it.
It's really hard for Leslie to talk about Takayasu because Takayasu is her boyfriend.
He's my first love, yes. I have been cheering him on forever. This is highly emotional for me. I'm just going to say good jobs. He's 6-1, and I hope he continues along this path.
I'm going to cheer him on because he's not my first love, and I can just blindly cheer him on no matter what happens. But I like this storyline, and I hope it continues.
Yes, yes. And if you've been listening to us for a long time, you know what we're talking about. If you're new, good luck. You'll catch up eventually what we're talking about. Okay, Kirishima versus Wakamoto Haru. Now this was, I loved this bout. It was staying power from both guys. Big tachi from Kirishima. They latch on though and stall out. This is kind of both very smart guys who've been doing this for a while, strategizing throughout this whole thing. They both resist well against each other's attempts. Wakamoto Haru tries to raise Kirishima upwards, but Kirishima then sinks deeper and stays close inside, inching Wakamoto Haru back. But Wakamoto Haru has himself wedged at this point like a doorstop. He has his back foot wedged up against the outside of the doyo, and he's in a strong position because he's really hard to move. They wait. They are stuck. Evenly matched. They wait. Now they're stalled again. Now they're stuck.
A long, long match.
Kirishima, though, tries a move to dislodge Wakamoto Haru from being on the inside and to kind of get a better grip, and it actually worked. Kirishima is now got a right inside, left outside grip, and Wakamoto Haru looks a little tired, and he's leaning and he's waiting. Kirishima goes for the Maki Kai, though, and then Wakamoto Haru knew what he was waiting for, the grip switch, because that's when you're vulnerable. He drives and almost nudges Kirishima over the bales.
I thought he had him. I thought he did.
But Kirishima stayed in, and he rushes then back on Wakamoto Haru. He turns one way, then turns the other, and then he gets under the armpits of Wakamoto Haru and executes a beautiful Katsukashi on Wakamoto Haru and wins. Full match.
Great breakdown.
Thanks. I love that bout.
I did too. And I thought, okay, maybe Kirishima is not as injured as I thought he was. Because that showed incredible agility.
Yeah, it did. Creativity.
And strength. All of the above.
Yes.
It was great.
Onosato versus Chiyoshoma. Otozakura beat Tobizaru, and I was like, okay.
It was nice.
But Onosato versus Chiyoshoma, thankfully, Onosato did a great job of looking exactly like an Ozeki should. I also mentioned the cupping on his back, and I was like, uh-oh.
You know what I mentioned, or know what I noticed on day 7 with that one? It just looked like Onosato stood up and walked forward, and he just didn't stop. Chiyoshoma just happened to be in the way.
Yeah, I wrote Onosato. It was a tachi. He drives and smothers Chiyoshoma. It was fast. He was cooked. And Chiyoshoma was raw meat. That's raw cooked. That's what I wrote. Raw cooked. Raw cooked.
That's like an oxymoron. Okay.
Yeah, but
raw cooked.
He just was not fully cooked. He needed to go back in the oven, and Onosato put him.
Maybe that was it. Maybe he just wasn't ready. Maybe Onosato just beat him.
Onosato just looked
didn't have time to set
like
up
what he needed to look like. And that's the last bout of the day I really want to mention.
Okay, day 8. Day 8 is when everything really starts shifting for me when I watch a basho. This is where I start watching the numbers, and this is where, things are starting to settle out. It's the halfway point of the basho, but things really start settling in, and I think because people start to see their numbers add up a certain way, they start to really show up in a different way, or the slate of wrestlers that they have to start fighting changes dramatically, right? So they start fighting much higher or lower on the banzuke. Mm-hmm. So big shifts tend to happen around day 8, 9, or 10. Aonishiki went to 5-3. On day 8, this time against Shirokuma, Chiranaumi did some really wonderful dancing on top of the bales to stay in as he tiptoed backwards and twisted Mitakayumi around and down his right side down to the ground, taking him to 7-1. Chiranaumi, my man, to 7-1 on day 8. Ishii's villain move still in the works, still perplexing the audience, and kind of working. He met Koto Shoho. They both went down. One went down as one stepped out. So we got a reversal of a winner on Shishi's bout. It initially went to Koto Shoho. Then they switched it. Day 8 was a great day. If you're a Wakamoto Haru brother, Wakamoto Haru Wakataka Kage. Hey, I did that very, very well. Wakamoto Haru won against Chiyoshoma, one neck thrust up, one big push out. It was over. Wakataka Kage met Abi. Abi went in with 2 hands on the neck. Wakataka Kage just pushed those elbows out of the way and quickly pushed on Abi's chest so that Abi could not extend his arms and went out. So great day to be one of those brothers. We got to see an Ura versus Oho match, which is always a fun matchup. Anyway, it didn't work. Oho pretty solidly came out with a win, as you would expect, but that only took Oho to 3-5, which is not a great start for a new Sekiwake. I loved the bout basically because the winning move at the end, if you remember, Ura was like backed all the way to the bales and Oho pushed really hard on his chest and Ura went into a backbend, and then he pushed him again to take his lower body out. It was just a real cool flexibility. You could just see Ura's flexibility on display, and it was really, really pretty. That's why I mention it. Onosato won in 2 moves against Ichiyamamoto on day 8. One push took Ichiyamamoto back. Ichiyamamoto refused to go out, so Onosato changed his tactic. He went backwards and did a giant slap down. Ichiyamamoto went forward and down. It took the whole ring back and forth to do that.
But it worked.
But it worked, and he did it well. So Onosato won. Kirishima versus Kotozakura is worth mentioning just because, okay, they both start with K, which makes it hard to take notes about because I can't just write the first initial. 2 very different body styles, 2 very different kinds of sumo. This one ended up in a sideways pancake where Kotozakura pancaked Kirishima. There was a spin, there was a throw, but Kotozakura smothered him like syrup on pancakes.
Yeah.
Well done.
Well done.
The best bout of the day was the last one.
Yes.
Hoshoryu versus Takayasu. This is historically a tough matchup for Hoshoryu. Takayasu is just a tough customer for this guy. So I was really interested to see how this was gonna go now that Hoshoryu is a Yokozuna. Honestly, it looked like Takayasu was faster and stronger.
Yes.
Throughout the entire match. They locked up quickly. Takayasu got Hoshoryu's belt, but once Hoshoryu broke that belt hold, Takayasu just jumped in and pushed so hard that Hoshoryu had no choice but to go out.
Yeah.
What that meant was, at the end of day 8, we had 3 guys in the tie for the lead. We got Takayasu, Onosato, and Chura no Umi. And I just flat out love that leaderboard.
Yeah, I have no complaints there.
None.
That's all very exciting to me. Takayasu versus Hoshoryu, I was like, yeah, Takayasu is a veteran. He's bigger. That body type, I think, is harder for Hoshoryu. He's got longer arms, great reach, and Hoshoryu can't easily flip him. He is very heavy, and that big belly gets in his way. So I was very excited.
I bet you were. And Takayasu was as well, because he got a kimboshi, another kimboshi, which means another
pay raise.
Yeah. He gets more money now for the rest of his career. He's got to be very happy with that.
All right, we ready for day 9? All right, day 9. Ionishiki report, doing pretty darn good for his Makauchi debut. He did a great job he was up against Jurio wrestler Nabatame, but he fended him off really well, yanked down on his belt. So I don't normally mention the Jurio guys matches with the lower Makauchi guys, but Ionishiki's had a really, really, really strong debut. Yeah. So that's great. Churros lost to Toki Hayate on day 9. So yeah, that's a little, well, all right, little cut the wind out of his sails.
But Toki Hayate,
yeah, he won.
I mean, that was beauty sumo.
Yeah.
Beauty sumo. He's doing so much better than the last time he was up here.
Yeah, for sure. Midori Fuji versus Shirakuma. You blink and he's ready and willing with the Katsukashi. So this time he jumped to the side, grabbed an arm and pulled and yanked him down with that underarm position. So not a surprise. Okay. Oh, this one. Endo versus Tamawashi. I do not know how Endo pulled off this match, but he decided, okay, so Tamawashi had some serious staying power in this match too. More agility than you usually see from Tamawashi. Quick reactions, even at the edge. From the top, Endo was rocked backwards and taking a brutal pummeling from Tamawashi's double arm nodowa, like full on Darth Vader, kind of neck, like strangulation type of move. But somehow Endo got a shallow grip on Tamawashi's belts, despite being choked. And from there, Endo stayed attached and got flung all around the dojo, holding on to that shallow belt grip in front, which is what helped him win in the end, because he could just wrangle Tamawashi kind of back to the edge. He almost did it. Tamawashi surged back on Endo, but got inside on Endo under his arm and threw a throw and flipped Tamawashi like a pancake. It was a great match of back and forth, but it was all over, like pinball all over the dojo, with Endo just desperately trying to hold on to Tamawashi's belt. He was stuck like glue.
Endo was so slow getting up after that match. Did you notice that?
I think, was that the one where they were like, I think he got knocked out? One of those matches. No, that was the next day.
Well, the next day is a tough one too, but I've just overall, I've noticed in this basho even more, Endo just looks so tired.
Yeah.
Like this is taking every part of his soul to go.
But he's never been much personality anyway, but you can see kind of he's like a little,
it's like it's tired. Taking more of a toll than it usually does. Yeah. He's really slow to get up. It just looks like he's not having any fun at all, even when he wins,
Maybe he's not.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Let me chat, though, about Kirishima versus Gonoyama. Now, this was all fire from Gonzo, and it was a spectacular spotty battle and sequence that pushed Kirishima out, and with no answer. It was a barrage of thrusts. Gonoyama was all fire, and I was like, okay. Daisho versus Ura was absolutely hilarious, because Daisho did not tachiai. He was like, I don't know what to expect from this guy, so I'm just going to stand up. Had his arms out straight in front of him, just like waiting for Ura to like throw himself into his arms. Ura went in, bounced back from running straight into the arms of Daisho, and then he ducked down so low at the bales, like trying to avoid a Daisho thrust, but he fell down, so like dipped down so hard that he ricocheted back up and ended up doing like, I think, an instinctual front roll. And Daisho did get like a quick two hands on him on the back of his.
Oh, this was the day, like his timing was totally off.
It was his own acrobatics that lost the bout for him, and he was too low. So
it's kind of like just a wonky fight. But I liked. Ura has the best finishes to fight.
Yeah, he does.
Of anyone else. The Ura flares, no one has it.
Yeah, but he's like a bullfighter or like a magician when they reveal, the cat, or not the cat in the hat, the rabbit in the hat. He's got a flare in his eyes about what just happened. Takeyasu versus Kotozakura. Takeyasu up top reached for a shallow grip. Kotozakura fought hard to disallow it, but Takeyasu just waited and got it, and then he flung Kotozakura into the dirt and onto his belly after that. It was easy. Kotozakura tried from the top to stay low and slow down the pace, but he did not do that. Kotozakura tried to move backwards, tried to dislodge, but it was no cigar. So Takeyasu won that one.
Which means Kachikoshi.
Yes.
For Takeyasu. And Leslie is trying not to get excited about that.
I'm not excited about it.
Nope.
All right. But Abi versus Onosato.
And Yokozuna. Like, I can be excited.
Yeah.
Takeyasu's doing so well. So well.
Yeah. Well, Inishi Yamamoto has also like beat two Ozekis in like Azuna too. So it's always weird, this basho. It's always fun that way. Abi versus Onosato. Abi made me nervous going in with, he did like a huge face slap on Onosato, and he got a deep grip on him too. He was leaping all around the dojo with Onosato's belt and flinging him. Onosato went with it, but he sat really heavy and eventually found a moment to lean in to Abi and force him out after about 5 leap arounds. Abi had this now deep Mawashi grip on Onosato, but the heaviness of Onosato won out in the end. He ends up winning the match by lean. If that's
by lean,
by Kimarite, a heavy lean, disallowing any further movement from Abi at the edge to get him out. Ichi Yamamoto versus Hoshoryu. This was hilarious. Up top, Ichi Yamamoto was all excited. Hoshoryu had a plan though, and he was going to go in and try for a headlock throw. But as he set up for it, he retreated backwards. Ichi Yamamoto also leaned and stayed heavy, and instead plowed all the way and went through Hoshoryu, and then Hoshoryu fell backwards. And this was a kimboshi for Ichi Yamamoto, who was even more big smiles afterwards. And sad for Hoshoryu because this is a tragic start to his Yokozuna run, or his Yokozuna career. But he can take time off and...
Another kimboshi!
Yeah, 3 kimboshi in the same... They probably were like, buddy, you got to take a few days off or a basho off because you're expensive at this point. And it shouldn't have been to Ichi Yamamoto, but I'm glad it's Ichi Yamamoto because I love him.
It was a great push.
Yeah.
Great push. Such good sumo. Day 10. The biggest announcement came before day 10.
Yes.
The announcement that Hoshoryu went Kyujo. He
elbow.
Is out for the rest of the basho. Even though he said he was not going to leave early, this was not the best look for our Yokozuna. You always want your Yokozuna to start strong. Kind of like Hakuho did, where he showed up as Yokozuna and then nobody beat him that next tournament. Well,
I'm sure he's getting calls from his uncle.
I'm sure he is. The official announcement was elbow injury. Whatever the reason, I hope he heals and I hope he can come back. But I think everybody was bummed. And he was meeting Ura, I believe, on day 10. So Ura got a freebie on day 10 for that. So that was the biggest news. I loved day 10. Sumo. Day 10 sumo was so much fun for all of the reasons. First, one of the first ones I loved was Nishikigi versus Tamawashi. Huge, hard thrusts by both men that had Tamawashi spun around at the edge of the ring, facing outside the ring, and Nishikigi saw his future. He was like, I have this win. All it's gonna take is one big push on Tamawashi's back, and he went in for that push just as Tamawashi spun like a cartoon character. Whoop! Spun around, and Nishikigi flew himself out of the ring with that ill-timed push. It was just comical. It was called a Hataki Komi, but it was Hataki hilarious, is what it was. It was awesome. Kimbozan hit Endo with a single two-handed push on the chest or on the neck that simply put Endo on his ass.
Well, that was the head bonk that they thought it was possibly a knockout. Like he stumbled getting up.
Oh, did they actually hit heads?
They bonked heads.
Oh, I did not see the head bonk.
Massive head bonk. And it was like he was seeing stars. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just the biggest hit. Oof is what I wrote down, and oof is what it looked like. It can't have felt good. Kimbozan went away with that win. Kirishima, oh boy, he bet Takanosho on day 10 and just ran backwards the entire time. So Kirishima injury report, it must be bad on day 10 because he didn't have anything to offer Takanosho, who walked off with that win. If you want to see like the monster truck rally of sumo men going at each other, watch Oho versus Daisho on day 10. Look for that match because it was just huge body blasts coming from two guys who do it better than anybody else, really. Until Oho ran out of gas.
Yeah, Daisho always has bluster, but I had never really pegged Oho till more recently as having that same amount of bluster, just a barrage of blasts, and he's meeting Daisho's sort of strength in that, and I was kind of impressed with that. I was really impressed.
So impressed with that. Daisho walked away with that win on day 10, but the true highlights of the day came late in the day on day 10. The match that I was so looking forward to because these guys are tied. Tasu versus Onosato on day 10. I was going into this, like I even wrote Angie, and I was like, Angie, I cannot wait to see Takayasu meet Onosato on day 10 because they have the same record, and I so want Takayasu to win this. This was the match of all matches on day 10. Takayasu was being pushed back by Onosato and looked to be in so much trouble at the beginning of this match. But Takayasu stayed in close. Onosato then decided to change tack. He was like, okay, I guess I'm not going to get him out with a push. I'm going to change. I'm going to pull. It's worked in the past. I'm going to pull. But this time he pulled sort of as he twisted. He didn't pull and go flat across the room. He sort of like pulled at an angle, and he pulled. Takayasu stayed in super close and followed, so that as Onosato leapt back, he leapt out as Takayasu went down. But Onosato was the first to leap out. So that means Takayasu went away with that win. And I was so happy for the guy. So happy for your boyfriend.
Yeah, I'm still not talking about it.
I just have 8 exclamation points written down on my notes after this fight, because that was such good sumo on Takayasu's side. And I want it for him so badly, and I'm so glad he won this. I'm so glad he won this.
The guy's 35 years old, and he's a former Ozeki, and he's going up against a current Ozeki who's like 23, and they match strength-wise, and Takayasu's brain and experience won out in that, and that was what's lovely to see in sumo, is these older guys that they've been in these kind of moments so many times. Takayasu, and this time he took the win because he's been there a lot, you know.
So that meant, because Shiranoumi had lost the day before and Onosato lost this day, that meant that Takayasu is now in the lead. He's in the lead with 9-1.
I won't be able to sleep all week.
Okay, so that takes us to the last battle of the day. Ichi Yamamoto, after having a fantastic meeting with Hoshoryu the day before, this time it's now meeting Ozekis. I mean, did we think we'd ever get to the point where Ichi Yamamoto was meeting Yokozuna and Ozekis?
No, I don't think
doing this well?
I don't think he believes it. Like, that's what's so fun, is that he is all smiles because he can't believe he's doing it. And that's like, just
truly,
he's so humble, and like, I adore him.
And these moments are what are giving us my favorite interview moments. I just love every time Ichi Yamamoto gets interviewed, because he's just so well-spoken and so sweet and so smiley and so goofy. And I absolutely love it. So we got a great interview from him after that Hoshoryu battle. And I actually don't know if he got an interview on this day too. I hope he did. He slapped down Koto Zakura.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know. Ichi Yamamoto slapped down Koto Zakura. Much bigger boy. Well, okay, what it means is Koto Zakura, he has 5 chances. He needs 3 more wins. So
3 out of 5.
3 out of 5. Yeah, so he can do it. He can still retain his Ozeki status. Ichi Yamamoto, I didn't even write down his numbers. I'm just going to say, Ichi Yamamoto, you were having the best basho of your life.
Yeah.
So keep it up. Keep going. I love what I'm seeing. Would it be fabulous to see Ichi Yamamoto someday with a big trophy? Like in the winner's circle, giving that interview?
Oh, he'd be so good.
He would be so good. Okay, but at the end, that's like my dream. But I've got another dream before the Ichi Yamamoto dream, and that is the Takayasu dream. Getting to hold that trophy. I can say it, you can't. But I can. At the end of day 10, Takayasu in the lead all by himself, 9-1. He's meeting Kirishima on day 11. You can do this, buddy.
Yeah,
you can do this.
You can do it. This should be a good match.
Yes.
But he should come out on top.
Onosato and Takeru Fuji and Churanoumi are right behind him at 8-2. Onosato is meeting Ura on day 11, and Takeru Fuji and Churanoumi are meeting each other on day 11. Takeru Fuji, Onosato, and Takayasu. Just forget what I'm saying. They're all looking great. I love what I'm seeing from all these guys.
Me too. So that is it for days 4 to 10. Get your bingo cards ready. Let's send them in, because they're going to be coming in here real soon. So get on that. Make sure you're so fast in sending us an email. And if you're not the first, you might be on the second list. And we'll do a lotto drawing for gift cards and such then. Until next week, when we bring you basho highlights and the wrap up, bingo highlights, and the highlight on the winner. I guess that's it for this week. I am Leslie.
I'm Laurie. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.